So this is the first update of my mega studio rebuild. Let's see what I've done so far. So this first part, I'm essentially doing a lot of building work, putting in stud frames, cutting out some plasterboard for a window and door. So let's get into it. So I'm up in the roof here, and the reason is I want to be able to drill some holes from the top so I can run some draw cables down through the drywall. The reason for this is draw cables are extremely useful. Even if you think you don't want to be able to have a certain power point or Ethernet port on a drywall, having those draw cables there for later is really handy. The method I've figured out on how to find the two holes, one from the top of the frame and one at the noggin point, is to attach a string to a piece of bar. The bar is not flexible, so you can aim for the hole fairly easily, and then you just chuck it down through the hole, and someone on the other end hopefully will grab the string, tie the mains cable or the Ethernet cable at the other end, and I'll just pull it back up through. Easy. Now I'm pretty sure my son at the other end is doing what I instructed him to do, although I think he may have forgotten. I think he's forgotten. Okay, so I don't know what my son's done. He seems to have pushed the bar back up through again, and what? My son got the wrong end of the stick, but that's fine because in the end I managed to get the cable through, which is what I wanted, but for some reason he attached the end of the string to the bar and to the cable. The current plan I have in mind is this wall. I'm going to have a window here with double glazed sound insulated windows, glass. These actually ended up being fairly expensive. It's one of those things that has to happen. So one of the things I've seen in sound studios is to offset the glass panels slightly. The reason for this is to avoid any sound bouncing backwards and forwards within the glass pane. So that window will go into the studio, which is behind. Later on I'll have a mixing desk there and everything all set up nicely, so for the time being that's going to be a window. I can look in here, and over here I'll have a door that goes into the old studio. I've got to get some more insulation inside the frame, so I might have to end up taking off a lot of this plasterboard. I might have to repaint these walls. I've got acoustic panels coming which will fit nicely into that area, and I'm sort of thinking of having some sort of fancy, I don't know, display that's set off every so often, something that's going to look nice. Down here I'm going to have a couch that's just below the window, so in future when I'm doing weekly roundups, I'll be sitting on a couch with maybe some pot plants, you know, make it look a little bit nice. So you will have noticed that I've got some cables in the walls I've got to get rid of. Fortunately, when I was building the house, I took very, very detailed photos of every single noggin, every single cable that was running through the whole house. So I've actually got a full map of where everything is. So you would have seen when I was tearing down the wall, I knew exactly where to hit and find the cables because I'd measured everything. So I've got to remove these cables. I know exactly where they go. There's some that go down there and some that go along here and straight up to there. So they're going to be fairly easy to move. The mains cable, our mains cable down there, I've got to move that as well. But fortunately, I know exactly where that goes too. So I know that runs all the way through to the other side of the room. And I can just pull it out fairly easily. It's not an issue. So once I've got those cables removed, I'll be able to finish knocking out the door. So the door's going to close flush with the wall. The reason for that is this whole wall's going to have acoustic tiles on it. So it's kind of nice to be able to have it all sort of match up and sort of neatly go in. So no architraves around that. That's probably going to take a couple of days to finish all that. I've got the acoustic tiles coming in. By the time I finish all this, it'll be all ready for the acoustic tiles. So, fair amount of work left. So I still really haven't planned exactly where things are going to be going. I do actually want it to be fairly sparse. There's one thing I found in the old studio is that things are fixed, and it's quite annoying as I want to change locations. I want to be able to move things around, but camera angles, for example, pointing down onto a desk, doing reviews of SBCs and so forth, I'll still have very fixed points where I actually do those. I've got essentially 2 spots where I do that currently. It's also my main work area, so I'm always having to take the camera off and put it back on and take it off. So I'm going to have a dedicated spot for tutorials and SBC reviews and so forth. Over this side I'm going to have a blank wall. My old green screen that I've got in the studio next door, I'll put there because it's quite handy to have a green screen. You can do a lot of fancy things with it. Of course, this is the door coming and going. I do contract work on the side, so it'd be quite good to have clients coming in and going out through that door and not having to traverse through the main area of the house. So originally this TV room was an open plan sort of TV room, and I previously put up a stud wall there with a doorway. I pulled out that whole stud frame, put up a new one with spacing 420mm centers, so I can put in some acoustic insulation inside the walls so I don't get any of the reverb from the rest of the house. So on this stud wall, of course, I've got a couple of draw cables I'm putting in. In fact, I'm putting draw cables on every single noggin. The reason for that is you can never have enough draw cables. If you want to be able to put something in later on, you've always got a draw cable. We can feed cable back up through the holes. I've got essentially 4 dual port Ethernet sockets I'm going to put in, and I've got 3 or 4, maybe 4 double power points. So that'll feed back into the same circuit breaker as the rest of the studio, which means it's completely isolated from the rest of the house. And then this whole wall, I've got a large motorized table, a second one, which I managed to acquire for free, which is good. So I'll put that along there, along with another table and sort of racks. So I'm either going to have this wall full of components, or else this wall full of components. I still haven't really decided what I'm going to do, but once I get sort of the basics in, I'll have a much better idea of how it's all going to fit. So that's about it. You'll have an update in about another 3 days. Thanks for watching. Here's Mickey. Oh, that's good. I got it all over the lens.